Hey everyone, my name's Chris. Welcome to the Creative Tavern. I'm here with my buddy Michael, and today is Wednesday, June 8th, 2022. And again, my name is Christopher Lee. I am a concept designer. I've been in the industry for about 10 years, with worked with various companies such as the Walt Disney Imagineering and Universal Creative. And again, I'm here with my buddy Michael.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael L. Welker. I am a writer and semi-retired creative producer, also from the theme park industry, where I worked with Chris on various projects. And right around summer of 2020, when the pandemic happened,
Yeah.
Chris and I found ourselves in between projects and decided, hey, let's put our heads together and do a project of our own, which eventually morphed into us learning how to make a video game. And we
Mhm.
said, hey, this might be really interesting for people to watch our creative process of how we not only make this thing, but how we learn to make this thing, and all our struggles and triumphs along the way. So we created the Creative Tavern as a place for you to get a window into our creative process, and also for us to build a community, a platform of other creators where we can all come together and get excited about making art in all its various forms. So
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah, welcome. And two things on that build upon your point, Michael, is that one, the Creative Tavern is a place for anyone who is creative, who wants to do creative things. I myself, I wish there was a channel for Michael and I to watch and be like, oh, how did they make a video game, from scratch, who's never done it before, right? And also another reason for me definitely is to, have a platform to for you guys, for people to share their art, because as a Twitch streamer myself, I kind of want to tell people exactly what I do. And it's not always good to be copying into someone else's stream and be like, oh, this is what I do. I'm a creative artist. You kind of need to build up a relationship first before you do that. But here I want to open it up to any new streamers, any new content creators. If you have a project going on and if you're struggling with anything, feel free to dive in into our Discord, and we'll get to know you, and hopefully we can share our experiences with you, and you with us too, because this creative journey is a long and arduous, hard and arduous one, that we have to go on. Sometimes it's really easy, sometimes it's super hard. But yeah. And with that said, let's go ahead and do a little recap of what we talked about last week. And I will go ahead and share my screen with Michael. Hold on. I'm going to share right now. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. It's getting a little bit hotter. It's summer. Vegas is around like 100-ish degrees. And same with Michael, who's
Yep, in
over
Austin.
in Austin, is probably over 100-ish as well, I would assume.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just barely, but
Ugh.
yeah,
But you guys have the heat, so that's even worse, in my opinion.
the humidity.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. The humidity. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What am I talking about? Okay. All
Um,
right.
yeah. Anyway, take
Oh,
it away,
sorry.
Chris.
You're gonna say something?
Well, I was just gonna say, yes, but the humidity doesn't bother me too much anymore because I've lived in so many humid places for the past
Oh,
several years that now
sure,
it's
sure.
yeah, it's fine. And we've had
Yeah,
some nice breezes too, so
yeah,
as long as you're sweating, it's not quite as hot.
yeah. Yeah. Japan was really humid, I remember, and the summers were
Oh yeah,
like hot,
not
like
the
super
most
hot.
humid place that I've been.
That's true.
I think
That's true.
the most humid was probably Hong Kong. I feel like you could
Yeah, Hong Kong was.
swim in the air in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
It was so humid.
yeah. I remember being in Hong Kong. It was like the clothes would just more or less stick on you, and it would feel so nice when you walk inside of a 7-Eleven convenience store, because it's all nice and
Yeah.
cool and more or less
hmm
dry, and then you step out again, it's all like woo, it's just so
Yeah.
humid and hot.
And there's so much water in the air that your skin doesn't like your sweat doesn't evaporate to cool you,
Yeah,
so you're just
yeah.
like melting.
Yeah. But one great thing is that it's great for your skin. Like I remember like being in Japan,
Oh.
I'm like, man, my skin is so nice and
Mm,
smooth, but here in Vegas it's like it's
Everything's
dry.
dry.
It's so
Yeah.
dry. But I've what you call it, grown accustomed to it, because I remember when I
Mm-hmm.
first moved to Vegas, anything that I touched, it like there was like static. It was like You know, it's like,
Yeah.
but now I'm immune. You know, it's like, anyways. Sorry. Yeah. What humidity is good for the skin. It just sucks to when it's super super hot. So, and it's
Hmm.
definitely getting hot. Anyways, so last week we visited scene number 4. Scene number 4 is our very claustrophobic scene, because the scene after that, which we looked at the previous 2 weeks, is a big interior space with like fuel columns and everything. It's a big space where you can fly around and everything. But this scene 4 is much smaller space. We have to fly through the corridor, and so this is basically what I created in Blender and what I also animate as well. So I'm going to go ahead and press play. You guys see that? And then so we're basically flying through a corridor. And then inside the corridor, you're going to see like a whole bunch of enemies. You're flying enemies, pew pew pew. Currently, we might be flying a little bit too fast, but that is something that I will be adjusting as per given the feedback from Michael and from you guys. As well, in here, there's going to be various structures. I'm just turning in them on and off, right? There's structure, flying through structures, and then we could add more structures, something like that, right? We could take it away or put more in. And then within here, we definitely want to have obstacles we want to shoot at and destroy, so that we're not just shooting bad guys, but we're also shooting, things that's in our way. And if we hit those things, we actually might obtain damage. And we are flying. And then we also wanted to have, moments where we give kind of a Indiana Jones moments where we think we're going to a one space, but we're actually going through another space. So we're gonna do that as well. And so basically that was what I did last week. And Michael, am I forgetting anything at all? Hopefully not.
Um, no, I don't think so. Yeah, that was a really great summary. Yeah,
Cool,
nailed it.
cool. And yes, I will be. Let me just uh, rewinding.
Yeah, I
I
guess
will
like
be
yeah.
adjusting the
Uh,
speed of the
there you go.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, yep. Because I didn't get the chance to touch this yet. But currently, we're flying so fast through the corridor. It's way too fast. Although one thing I realized when I was doing scene 3, Michael, was that in order for me to fly through the gigantic space, I have to fly really, really fast. I don't know about in
Mm,
Unity if you encounter that. Maybe you talked about that a few weeks ago, but in order for me to fly through the environment and make it seem like we're actually moving through the huge environment, you have to go really
hmm.
fast. And
Yeah.
and and when I did scene 3, I was like, all right, cool. I got it at a good speed. And then when I put the bad guys in, I'm just like flying through them like
Yeah.
200 miles an hour. I was like, holy shit. And I was like, that's way too fast. And then when I slowed things down, so that we can actually have time to, so you're the thing, right? These two are the bad guys. So if instead of going like zoom like this, the bad guys are, approaching you slowly. If it's like slow, then we are moving really really slow through the environment, and I don't know where to find that balance. I think that's something that maybe I need to figure that out in Blender. Maybe that's figured out in Unity, but that's one issue that was the technical issue that I was mentioning before our show, Michael. That in order to have
Mm,
things move at a nice pace through the environment, we're just whizzing by through the bad guys.
sure.
So that's just something that I've discovered as a problem. And I think you talked about it a little bit when you said you were moving in scene 1 when you were actually moving uh, next to the our mothership, that
Mhm.
you had to like actually push the speed of things, right?
Yeah. So, and we'll get into this quite a bit more, I think, later because there's some things that I've found out in the work that I've done since we last talked, and I want to look at live some reference for another game to see how they're solving this problem because yes,
Hmm.
that same problem keeps coming up
Yeah.
with giving the player a sense of speed and momentum, but also like creating these big awe-inspiring, grandiose, huge scale spaces, those two things are like absolutely in conflict constantly.
Right, right,
And so
right.
trying to figure out how to solve that.
Yeah.
A couple things that I can say for like this space for scene 4 at least is one of the things we could do with the well, for I guess it could work for scene 4, really could work for the whole game. And that is if we feel like actually we want the ship to be moving really fast because that's kind of like fun and it creates this sort of like heart-pounding pace of the game.
Mm-hmm.
We could just have the enemy ships fly with the player so they can like fly out in front of them, kind of like the moving backwards
Oh,
thing from like
yeah, 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 yeah,
that
yeah.
very
I
first
remember.
level
Hmm.
prototype.
I
So
remember.
if we did something like that, that could totally work.
Yeah,
Um,
that sounds good.
yeah, and to answer your question about like whether or not we figure that out in Blender or Unity, I think you can do experiments in Blender to figure out like what feels appropriate. Like, ooh,
Sure.
when I slow it down this much, man, this game is kind of boring now.
Right,
When I
right.
speed it up this fast, holy crap, like I don't know if we can actually expect the player to be able to react that fast.
Hmm.
We can
Hmm.
kind of, get a general feel, but really I think most of the fine tuning and the polish is going to have to happen in Unity
Unity,
because there's
sure.
so many other systems that are
Yeah,
impacted by
yeah.
the speed, like then the particle system and how fast the lasers go, and whether or not players going to have to like lead their shots because now they're moving so quickly, and on and on
Right,
and on and on.
right, right, right. Yeah, cool. That I'm glad to hear that solution. And yeah, that's something that I want to figure out. I love that solution of the bad guys actually flying with us so that they're relatively to our speed as well, so that we're not just whizzing by them. Um, so
Right.
very, very cool.
And then
And
you still
mm,
that sense of speed of through the environment, but you can
mhm,
also shoot
mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's great. And I'm just looking. Holy cow! We actually have hey, Captain Blue Blue and King. How are you guys doing, man? Good to see you
Hello.
guys here. And
Welcome.
we also have a little bit of bot issues going on. I feel a little
Yay,
bit
bots.
honored in that they're actually, you know,
The bots are paying
invading us.
attention to
Yeah, they're
us.
paying attention to us. So, but Captain Lewis says reported. And thank you so much. Yes, we have 20 followers now. Yeah, thank you. For
Woo!
joining us, and that is so awesome. And thank you. Captain Lewis says reported. He also says if you have to be that fast, then obstacles should be fewer and farther apart. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's
That
a
makes
great
sense
note.
too. That makes a lot of sense.
Thanks,
Um,
Captain Blue Blue.
yeah, yeah. So good to see you guys here, King and Captain Lulu. All right. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, remember how I said that I was going to update this with the slower speed? I didn't get a chance to do that yet, but I did work on scene 3, which is kind of like the colony scene. However, I am not going to show it to you guys today is because Michael actually came up with an amazing solution that we are implementing this moment today. In that, Michael, do you want to explain or do you want me to explain? Either one.
Uh,
What do you take it? It's your idea, so go
sure.
ahead. Yeah.
So as you may know, if you've watched our previous streams, the typical way that Chris and I had been doing the show was every Wednesday and Sunday we would get together. There would be a Chris update and a Michael update. Chris would kind of show the things that he had been working on in Blender, and then I would show the things that I'd been working on in Unity. Chris has been primarily our like art asset team lead, and I've kind of been primarily the sort of like programming and game design team lead. I say team lead, it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
And so so basically twice a week we would get together and we would share what we did since the last session, which means that for the Sunday show we've had about 4 days of time to do the homework, and then for the Wednesday show was only about 3 days worth of time. That pace was pretty intense, and we both felt it, especially on the Wednesday shows, because uh, even though like 3 days is only 1 day shorter than 4 days, in that kind of like small scale of a time frame, really that's 25% of your time gone when
Mm.
you go from 4 days to three. So the Wednesday show was hard to get content for, and we both felt very often like, man, like I tried to do something, but I just wasn't enough time. Um, so that had been something that we were kind of wrestling with for a while, and then, as you know, very recently, I decided to take a bit of a step back to spend some more time working on my books and getting a new edition of the Blockbuster Blueprint book that I've written out because I want to do an audiobook version of it, and also a second edition to adjust some things that feedback that I've gotten over the years that book's been out. Uh, and so for the last couple of sessions, Chris has been doing the uh, the entire update, and I've been here to help provide feedback. Um, but I had an idea. I don't know why we didn't think of this sooner, but my idea was like, hey, we're normally doing, a Chris update and a Michael update every episode. What if we did a Chris update and a Michael update once a week? So what
Mm.
if we did Michael update on Wednesday and a Chris update on Sunday? We would still be doing 2 shows a week. We'd still have uh, a full show to kind of go over the progress of the game, but it would give each of us a full week in between our updates to work on our part of the game, to do our homework. And I pitched that to Chris. He said,
I
"That's a
love
great
it.
idea. We
Oh,
should do
that's a great idea. We should do that.
that." um, and so that's what we're gonna do. And
Yeah.
so now we're going to shift to I'm gonna do the updates on Wednesday, and Chris is gonna do the updates on Sunday. And at least at the beginning, my updates are gonna be uh, a little smaller because I'm still primarily focusing on getting this
Mhm,
book
mhm.
project completed and out the door. But hopefully, I'll be able to have some cool things to share with you guys each week. Um, and you'll get a little peek at this, like what you can kind of expect each week with the update that I have to share today. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
good summary, Chris. Anything you want
No,
to add,
I
or
again, thank you so much for coming up with this amazing idea because I mean, we've been doing these streams for X amount of weeks now and we've been both talking about, oh God, like from Sunday to Wednesday, we just don't have a lot of time to come up with or not coming up with, the show, but just trying to do our assignments, right? And it's time crunch and it's pressure. I mean, pressure is good, but when you're pressured in that kind of way, sometimes you don't get the needed time to produce work. For example, like I was talking to Michael again before the show that I actually had something to show you guys for scene three, ready to show you guys tonight. But because Michael gave this a new idea, just one person a week, showing it, him on Wednesday, me on Sunday, it allows me to come up with get more time to come up with more a better designs. For example, I've this morning I actually took the time to redesign what I did for scene three, and I love it so much better. And I can't wait to show you guys what I did for scene three on Sunday and yeah, it's just more time, the better. I mean, not forever, but like a few more days helps a lot with the design. It gives you time to reflect, to think, not just like, oh shit, I only have like 6 more hours before our show streams, and then so that's just something that happened, right? And again, Michael and I are more or less figuring this out as we move along. I'm sure we're gonna come up with a different solution, like, oh, think we'll do this other thing now. But for now, we're trying to just kind of ebb and flow with this whole design journey that we're going through right now. And so yeah, good job again, Michael, for coming up with that genius a solution. And with that said, Captain Blue Blue said, my hold on. Captain Blue says, although my suggestion only works if you can see obstacles from afar. Oh, I see. Few and
mm,
further apart does not help if there are around 90-degree corners, if you know what I mean. Absolutely, I know what you mean.
totally?
King Cass says, could speed variations be like a form of difficulty of how Mario?
Mm,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I didn't
that's
even
an
think
interesting
about that.
idea.
Yeah, Mario Kart does do that. I always do 150 CZ because I'm hardcore.
As fast
Yeah!
as possible.
Fast as possible. Captain Blue says, this reminds me of when two friends create a company where one names themselves CEO and the other head of operations. Hmm, I didn't even think about titles yet. All I know is
Yeah,
I'm
I
the
know.
designer and Michael's the programmer, and Michael's also the designer too. So I mean, yeah. Captain Blue says, nice idea. I would suggest still giving a 5-minute recap from last stream since a viewer might not catch both Wednesdays and Sundays.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
definitely will do
perfect. So
that.
we can kind of continue to do like what you just did,
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
you did
yeah.
like your recap from last
hmm
week.
hmm
And so yeah, on Wednesdays, we'll get
Yeah,
a 5-minute recap from you of what happened last time, and then I'll do a
yeah,
full update. And then on Sundays, I'll do a 5-minute recap, and then
yeah.
you can do a full update. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, that's exactly what we just did today, but we should
Perfect.
totally,
We're
keep
nailing it.
doing it. We're keep doing it. So thank you so much, Captain Lulu. And obviously, Captain Lulu, here is your drink right here. And
Oh
King Cass,
yeah.
enjoy your sangria as well. Thank you for being here. And for those of you guys who are in here, please let me know ahead of time so I can make your drinks because I can't make your drinks right now because it takes a lot of time and energy to find the PNGs and put your name on the PNGs and everything. So, but because Captain Blue Blue and King Cast told me what they want, here it is. This is for you guys. It's just little something, something, for
Love it.
our fellow viewers. Okay. Oh, I forgot, Michael. I need to give us drinks. So here is your drink, and here's my drink.
Oh yeah.
Ah, yeah, cool. All right.
Been
Um,
okay.
yeah.
So
So,
I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm
okay.
just going to go to my full screen because we know that Unity is real wacky. So
Yeah.
forgive the infinite mirror, the recursion thing that happens momentarily. Um, oh, that's weird. It won't let me. Why not?
Captain Blue says, they look so good. Rum and
Oh,
Coke
here we go.
screams summer to me. Yeah, I love rum. I love rum. Rum is one of my favorite liquors. Yum, yum, yum. Especially the
So I'm
coconut
gonna.
rum.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, no. Go ahead, Michael.
I'm going to do better text readability, which means it's going to have a low frame rate at
Sure,
first,
sure.
because I'm going to talk about a little bit of a recap to like, oh, how did we get to where we are now? Um, actually, I'm going to do smoother video because I am going to play a little bit of animation. When I
Okay,
go into the code, though, I'll switch to better text readability.
okay. Sounds good.
So I'm going to go to that, switch to this. Okay. Can you see what I'm looking at? Is it looking
I
okay?
I can see you. Yes, yes, yes. Yep,
Fantastic.
yep.
Okay, so what I've done in Unity, this is from a couple sessions ago, but it's been a while since I've given an update. So I'm trying to basically figure out the different systems that we can use to make the game. And one of those systems is creating the rail system because we're making a rail shooter, so that's a pretty important part of the game. One of the big discoveries was using the Cinemachine Dolly system, which is, Cinemachine is an add-on that you can just install into Unity, and it's got all this like pre-made stuff that you can use, which is great,
hmm hmm
including this green track that you're seeing on the screen here, which basically just allows us to drop in a track and we can click on any of these different nodes and we can adjust where the track goes.
So good.
Um, yeah, it's really fantastic. We can, go up. If we want to add more to the track, we can click on a piece down here, click this add button, and it'll add another node. And so it's just that, like, it's crazy easy compared to the system that we were using before, where we had to like animate individual
Yeah.
keyframes for the
Yep.
rail.
Yeah.
Um, so once we have the rail in place, then we can take our player rig, which is basically this object that's got our camera and our player ship attached to it. And we just set that rig to have a certain speed that it travels along the rail.
hmm
And then when we do that, we can, like if I hit play here, I think this is going to work. Our
What the
ship,
world?
oh
Whoa! You
yeah,
have
there's some
energy trails.
weird effect. Yeah, it's not behaving the way I want it to here, but you get the basic idea.
Oh, cool.
So anyway, that is kind of how that rail system works, where you basically, we can move the ship along the rail.
Uh-huh.
Um, and this little area was just a way for me to kind of like test that. Oh man, I'm getting a bunch of errors still.
Oh no.
Um, I've spent a lot of time squashing bugs since last time, and I got rid of most of them, but not all of them. So we're still gonna run into a couple. But anyway, this was kind of just like a little sandbox for me to try to figure out like how that would work. And then I moved from there into I'll save into this space scene where we put in one of our big sort of like capital ships, which is going to be in scene 1. The idea is that your fleet is arriving into like an asteroid field, responding to a distress signal, and that's when you first encounter the enemy drones that are attacking this mining colony out in space. And so we kind of wanted this first scene to have that kind of like a classic sort of Star Wars dogfight feel, where you've got like these big capital ships that smaller fighters are flying around and all kinds of chaos is happening. Um, and so what I've done here, still this is from like the previously, I had set up a system where I've got this rail and it flies around the outside of the ship. And you can see I also added these sort of like little afterburners. Those are
Yeah.
new. I'm not super like I like the idea of having them, but they don't. Still a work in progress.
Sure, sure.
And so what you're seeing here is we've got, our ship, and by the way, I can move the ship around, and you've got these sort of targeting reticles. I still haven't fixed the bug with the targeting reticle going through objects. That's a tough one, a tough
Uh-huh.
nut to crack.
Uh-huh.
But I can also shoot. Yeah, there we go. I can also shoot. There aren't any enemies in here right now, but if there were, I could shoot them and blow them up. But anyway, this was just a way to make sure that, or to test, like, oh, okay, here's how it's going to feel when our ship is flying around this big capital ship, which is basically it's the same thing that we looked at in the sandbox thing, where I've got my rail here, and the rail goes around the ship, and then I just put our player rig on the rail. So there were a couple of more random things that I had kind of like dropped in there before, like some special effects with like holes and asteroids and things. But that's basically where I was the last time I checked in. Since then, I've been adding a couple of things.
Nice.
Experimenting with stuff. One of which was I added some things into the environment because as you can notice, like when I hit play here, this I think goes to what we were kind of talking about with regard to that sense of movement. You can't tell really when you're like just out in space, like where, how fast am I moving? Where am I moving to? Like, because only having the sense of like your ship relative to the skybox is not enough information. It's just because that thing is so big and it's so far away, it's really hard to tell how much you're moving and to get a sense of like, oh yeah, I'm really flying in here.
Right.
So I think there's a way to fix that, and it is to like sort of cheat the proximity of other objects in the level. It's very
Oh.
similar to what we do in the theme park industry with forced perspective,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
where we can make things look like, oh man, that castle is really tall and goes and stretches up far into the sky away from me. But it's like, actually, it doesn't.
Mhm.
It's just from that guest perspective, we we shrink the top faster than it actually would if it was going to the true vanishing point, which
Right.
then makes it look like it's getting smaller. I
Mhm.
think there are things we can do kind of in the opposite with the world of space, where you can get things that are closer to the player to allow them to feel like, oh wow, I'm moving really fast. That actually, if you zoom backwards, looks real weird because things look like they're all clustered together.
Right.
but from the player's perspective, it actually feels like, oh yeah, cool, I'm in an asteroid field and
Right.
whatnot. So like if I turn on some of this new stuff,
Ooh,
I
cool.
added a giant planet back there, and some of these asteroids, and you can see if I zoom back, like all these asteroids are clustered immediately around the ship. So you would think that that would look kind of weird, and it's not perfect, I don't think, but it's surprising like how like okay it looks.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
think it helps a lot with creating this sense of like, oh, okay, I'm moving through the space, and like, okay, this is, where I am, and I'm moving across things. You've got a much, much better sense of movement than when you're just, floating out in
Yeah.
raw space.
Yeah, it feels nice. I like it.
Um, and that's just like none of this is like, ooh, I think this is what, scene one is going to look like. This is all still me just kind of experimenting with trying to get the feel right and how, uh, like which things feel good and
Hmm.
appropriate and which things don't, because then that's going to dictate like, oh, okay, great. Now that we know close proximity to things is really important for giving a sense of like movement and spatial positioning, that's going to dictate largely how I think a lot of the other levels are going to be designed and the like moments will be designed.
Mm.
Um, so there's that. Uh, the Right. So all of that was just to say that like this is not final or anything. This is just me playing with like, okay, this is what changes for the
Sure.
player in terms of their experience when we add this kind of element in this capacity.
Right, right.
I played with like the planet that you're seeing on the right hand side there. I played with making that thing really huge and
Uh-huh.
putting it like further away, but
Uh-huh.
the draw distance in Unity is such that
Yeah.
it disappears. Like if things are
Yeah.
too far away from the camera, then the Unity just doesn't bother rendering them. Um, so I had to make it smaller. I feel like it's still fine. Like,
Uh-huh.
oh, and another thing that we could potentially do, this was another idea that I had, is if we want a moment like that where there's a giant, like a gas giant planet in the background, we
Hmm.
could actually just add it to the skybox. It doesn't have to be an object that's like actually in the
Sure.
game. Because if it's,
Yeah. Yeah.
intended to be really far away, then screw it. Let's just do
Uh-huh.
a
Uh-huh.
2D asset, bake it into the skybox, and then
Hmm. Hmm.
maybe add some kind of glowing effects or something.
Yeah,
Um,
this is looking great. I mean, this is more or less a proof of concept, and I think it's working right now. I like it.
yeah, I think it's starting to prove out the idea of like, oh, okay, this is sort of how it's going to feel to be in this sort of like asteroid field fight. We can kind of start building it, making it look better, but at
Uh-huh.
least now we've got a rough idea of sort of like proximities and sizes and things.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I did is I had done a test last time where, like, when I wanted to see if I could adjust the player's speed, like on the rail, and I had assigned it to the shooting button.
Mm.
I remapped it to the shift key,
Oh,
and I
nice.
added some effects.
Oh,
So
that's so cool. That is
when
so
you
cool.
boost, now you get those trails, and you also
Awesome.
get these sort of like the fast anime movement
Yeah, yeah,
sort of
yeah.
sparks. And then when I stop, that stuff goes away. So then you're just traveling at your normal speed again. Now there's a bug where uh, the trails come back, but sometimes the like anime zoom particles don't, and I haven't figured out how to fix that bug yet. So like here, you can see those didn't come back. Or
Oh, weird.
actually, I don't know how much that is showing up um, on the video because I know the resolution's a little bit lower.
Yeah, the third time you did it, it didn't come back. The last time,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Great.
yeah,
Yeah. Same thing on my end.
yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to like create a way for you to be able to tell that you were flying faster.
Very
And
cool.
I'm not like the idea I'm happy with, but I'm not super satisfied with the effect. This is just off the shelf
Mm.
effects that I happen to have in Unity.
Yeah,
Um, so I was just using that, but we can tweak it to our heart's content later.
sure, sure.
But for now, it at least conveys the feedback to the
Right.
player that you're moving.
Going fast.
Another thing that I may do that I've seen in some other sort of like Unity rail shooter things is when we hit the boost to like have the camera move back from the ship. That way it feels like
Oh,
the
right.
ship
Like
is, zipping
roll.
forward.
Yeah.
Right. Because currently the ship and the camera are locked
Locked
together.
for
They're
sure.
both part
Right.
of that rig, and so there's never any movement between them. So I may try to do that at some point, but for now, that's a nice
Mhm.
to have, not a need to
Mhm.
have.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so that's
Very
the
cool,
environment
Michael.
things that I added. Thanks. I also added a bunch more enemies to the game, um, and created like some additional rails for them. So if I turn these on and now hit play, hopefully this works. Now you're going to see we've got this sort of like fleet of drones coming in the
Yeah.
top up here.
Yeah.
So those guys are flying. And the way that I did that is I had originally played with a couple of things where they were all kind of sharing the same rail. And if you remember, one of the weird things about that was if there was one rail and I had like 3 different enemies on it, they were all kind of like in the same dolly. They would all kind of like fly in lockstep with each other.
Right.
In order to create like a little bit more of an organic feel, I created multiple rails
Uh-huh.
and put enemies on each rail and gave them varying movement speeds. So some of them fly faster than others, some of them fly slower. So
Uh-huh.
now it kind
Uh-huh.
of feels like they're almost just programmed to just fly, uh, you know, randomly on their own, but they're
Right.
actually all on the like same 6 rails, and they're just flying at different speeds.
Yeah. Captain Blue Blue
Um,
says having a nearby asteroid is great. I made a similar scene at one point for a game, and we had the same problem. Empty space does not convey speed well. Yeah, totally, Blue Blue.
that's weird. My computer, well, I guess this is another bug for me to fix. Sometimes my computer it does this little hiccup where like I can't move the chip down now.
Oh no.
Um, yeah, so I'm gonna restart that. But just to kind of give you an idea of like what I was talking
Yep,
about
I
with
see it.
like,
Yeah.
um, so I've got these like, all these different rails that kind of go around the ship here.
Mhm.
And each of them is kind of like a little bit offset from the other one.
Mhm.
And then I've just got all these different enemies here, and each one is kind of assigned to a different rail and just travels at a different speed.
Nice.
And those are all, destructible, so you can shoot them. Um, and then the last thing that I added was I wanted to add some allies, some other
Oh,
ships
cool. Sweet.
for the player to fly alongside. And
Oh,
so
sweet.
here we go. So now you've got this sort of like fleet of allies coming out of the main ship.
Oh,
That
cool.
Yeah, really like happy accident that as they kind of make that bank, they come into the light. So you get this like neat lighting effect.
Yeah.
And then I made them a little bit faster than our player. That way you would have that moment where they kind of like fly over you, but you can kind
Uh-huh.
of boost to keep up with them.
And most of them
Um,
they're gonna get destroyed, correct? Story-wise? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Ah!
We definitely want the player to feel like they are on the back foot.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have this little moment here where they're like flying into the drones, and maybe a bunch of them get blown up right there.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, I thought like, oh, that's cool. So basically, the way that the allies are working is they're on the same rail as the player.
Uh-huh.
They don't have to be, but just for the sake of like
Sure,
saving
sure.
time,
Mhm.
I just put them on the same rail at just a different speed.
Yeah.
Um, and another thing you may have noticed is I'm actually going to, yeah, I'll just do this.
Oh, cool.
I also have this guy up here. You can see, he's a little bit hard to see.
Oh, I see him. Yep, I see him.
Yeah, this guy who's kind of like. So what I did for this guy? Can I find maybe is it one of these? Maybe I don't know. Or in here? There it is. So this rail is a looped rail.
Mhm.
So basically it's the same rail system, but you just tell it like, hey, I want this one to be looped, and then it connects the last node with the first node. And then when you put a thing on there, you just set it to a speed, and then he kind of like he's just on a loop now. He'll just
Yeah.
fly at that same speed around this thing.
Yeah.
And obviously, if it's a tiny little donut like this, it's not going to look that great because you can see like, oh, geez, he's just flying around on that same thing. But if the rail is, long enough and has enough variation, uh, it and the player's only getting like a like couple second glimpse of that rail at different moments,
Uh-huh.
i- it's not going to feel like you're not going to be able to see
Yeah.
the underlying rail system or the mechanisms. It's going to feel like that ship is just flying.
Yeah, I mean, course, in our rail course, as the user, as the player, we're never gonna see this view. We're never gonna see this guy flying in a circle, right? All we'll see is
Exactly.
just a little glimpse of him going view, and then just, oh, someone's up there. And that's not even our, it's not a primary read. It's like a tertiary read, right? It's like it's the third read. It's not that important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is kind of like really just intended to be in the background. And again, this is proof of concept. This isn't like intended to be
Hmm. Hmm.
the design like, oh yeah, I think this is going to be great. This was just like, can I put one of these things on a looped rail and just
Hmm.
like send it moving? Like, oh crap, I guess I can.
Yeah.
And when I did that, that's what gave me the idea to do the drones, which you can see those are also on looped rails, so they just fly around the ship in circles.
Yeah.
Um, but when you play through and fly on the player rail, it kind of creates a couple of these moments, even though it's the same rail system. You get this first moment here where you see the like swarm kind of coming out in front of the capital ship as you're leaving the hangar. Then they're kind of gone, and you've got this moment with your ships, uh, and then those drones are moving around the left side of the ship, the capital ship. They're going to circle around the back where the engines are, and then when they come back around the front, then you get that sort of like head-on collision with the two fleets,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
even though it's the same rail system. So then you have
Yeah.
this moment too. So it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like more efficiency and optimization compared to previously when I would have to like hand animate keyframes or all of those things.
Right.
Now I could just put a loop on, and then if we can time the the different speeds appropriately, you could actually come back to that same like looped swarm
Hmm.
a couple of times and get like multiple moments. And maybe that could also be part of the this sort of game where like you come back to that this sort of like looped rail 3 times, so you've got 3 opportunities to kill all of the enemies there. And if you don't, well, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Um,
I think that's great, man. I love the fact that we have to like we're both going in opposite directions. The bad guys and our allies. That's really really cool. Oh, and then we stop.
Yep, and then that's the end of the rail there. Yes, I like that too. I think I want to experiment with both us going uh, in opposite directions, and then also the thing we talked about before where like
Hmm.
they're
Hmm.
flying in the same direction as you, flying backwards and like maybe shooting at you.
Yeah.
Um, but this was just again, the vast majority of this is not to get a sense of like cinematic moments. Most of this is me just trying to figure out how the systems work. Like,
Sure.
can I do this with the rail system? Because like one of the very first things I did with our fleet with the allies was I had all like this, you know, 2 dozen of these ships, but they were all in the same rig. And
Uh-huh.
they were flying together, and that was real wacky because you have ships at the far sides,
Mm.
and when the rail would bank, they would all bank like that, and it just
Yeah.
looked so wacky. So what I ended up doing is I broke them up into groups of 3 and put each of those in their own rig
Oh.
on, I think, the same rail, the same player rail,
Uh-huh.
which then gives it a lot more variety and it kind of looks a little bit more organic. Um, and it can be even more than that if we ended up doing, an individual rail per ship, and then sort of the same thing I did with the drones. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
the allies and the drones kind of represent 2 different like levels of customization, whereas with the allies you've got different rigs where the ships are spaced at different like different distances from the rig,
Hmm.
uh, but they're all using the same rail. Whereas with the drones, they're all their own individual units.
Hmm.
They're not part of like a bigger rig. They all get their own rail, and then they just move at different speeds, which is a
Nice.
little bit harder to set up, but looks a little bit better.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
anyway, experimentation.
yeah. No, I think
Um,
this is great, man. This proves a lot of stuff. That I mean, I love the fact that we're flying now with the allies instead of just us. Story wise, we could see a lot of these planes get destroyed. And then we're kind of like we're the only last 4 or 5 planes left in this whole fleet, and then we got to take out the mini boss, and it puts a lot of pressure on us to get the job done.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for some fun storytelling that's happening right in front of your eyes. Um, what else? So,
Oh,
that's yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Captain Blue Blue says, "I love the player now exist in a co- content and context. Uh, you are not the only spaceship here." Yeah, totally, dude. Captain also says something to think about in the future. The drones' darker tones are blending into the space and asteroids. Right,
Mm,
right, right. Color
yep,
choice for them will be super important. Perhaps even different environments will need different droid colors. Absolutely. And I would answer for Michael in that Michael is just plopping them in just for now, just for the sake of testing it. But yes, we definitely will, when the time comes, we definitely will choose the appropriate color palette so that things can uh, pop, pop out. Um, yeah, because black against black, you can't really see that. So we'll definitely
totally.
make it more obvious. But yeah, thank you. That's a
Yes, good.
great great note.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, you nailed it, Chris. I haven't made any changes to these
Yeah.
guys.
Mhm.
It's funny too because like in the tutorial version that I made, where I kind of just plopped them into the thing that I was making, in that one they were gray, but for some reason in this space they're kind of more green, they're like this pale green
Yeah.
color.
Is it because of are you using a sun right now? Did you change the sun? Is there a
Uh,
light
I
source?
didn't change the sun or the lighting, but it's possible
Interesting.
that the skybox, this
It's
because this is an
affecting it.
off-the-shelf skybox, it's
Sure.
possible that that's using some kind of lighting system that's creating this
Mm,
like green glow on these guys.
right.
Or maybe the particular albedo that this is using
Right.
is All right, so go in here and
It's
take a look
weird
at
because the
this.
hero ship is
Yeah, it
still
looks
white. Oh, there you
yeah,
go.
because
There's
here
a
it
little
looks looking pretty
green.
green.
There's you have a green albedo selected. So if you chose
Can I do all of these except the capsule?
yeah,
Uh,
just made it white. Yeah, there you go.
I'll just make it full white. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens. Um,
And it's the
yep,
same
there we go.
color as the thing.
That's a
Yeah.
little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because I did not change the albedo from the last level. So I guess maybe the lighting in the last level was such that green appeared gray.
Yeah.
Meow.
That is so cool. I love I mean, I love the concept of the trails, the speed trails. But yeah, they definitely need a little bit of finessing because I I I don't know, Michael, like I feel that a lot of effects in Blender, or not Blender, in Unity, and this might not be the right word, but they feel chunky, like effects
Mm.
and like explosions and the speed trails, they just feel blocky and chunky to me. They're not really subtle. Is that something you think is programmable, or is it just is that's just the look and nature of Unity?
No, they're extremely programmable. The reason why you're saying that is because two there are only two types of effects that we're seeing, and both of them are just their nature is to be that way.
Got
One,
it.
the the assets that I'm using off the shelf
Uh-huh.
are polygonal assets. They're like low poly
Oh,
assets.
got it.
So that's why this planet back here has all these like very visible polygons,
Right,
right? You
right,
can see
right.
all the different triangles.
Yeah,
So their particle effects are the same. They're really
got
just
it.
to give you an idea of like,
Hmm.
ah, here's what that feels like.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
second reason why you're seeing that is because for beginners in Unity, um, the way they teach you the particle system, because it's quite advanced,
Sure.
is to start with just the basics. So the things that you can create as a beginner tend to look pretty chunky. Um,
Got it.
there there are definitely ways to make the particle system much sexier.
Got it.
I just don't know how to do that,
Sure,
and
sure,
we
sure. Got
actually
it.
may need to make a decision at some point about um,
Hmm. Hmm.
do we lean into that and accept that our game is going to look a little bit more arcadey and a little less like polished and realistic? So then maybe some of the
Hmm.
other aspects of the art aesthetic should lean towards that, or do we dedicate some time on the project to really figure out how to do some nice particle effects? Um,
Yeah, sure.
because yeah, that's something that has kind of been on my radar for a little while where I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, particle effects. I'm having a hard time getting this to a place that feels really good.
Right.
Uh, that might be something we need to talk about at some point.
Sure, sure. And we'll talk
Good
about
note.
it a little bit after all the your work that you're showing. Um, great stuff, man. This is awesome, by the way. This is great.
Yeah, thanks. Um, so
Man,
yeah,
this
not a
is
ton, but
cool.
a cool enough update that I think kind of shows some of the systems coming together. Oh, and there's some things that that I still haven't quite figured out that I've been trying and struggling with. Like one of them is that gate system where I had mentioned. Yeah, here we go. So that idea where like, so this is a completely invisible cube,
Yep, I
and
see it.
this is the player rail right here going right through it. Can I
Uh-huh.
select both those at the same time? I guess I can, but it hides one. And the idea being is that when the player flies through this cube, it
Hmm.
acts as sort of like a gate that can then trigger other things to happen. Like
Right.
maybe it triggers a swarm of enemies to then come in or to start moving on their rails, or maybe it zooms the player really fast to like some other part of the level. Or another idea that I had is you could go through a gate and it would then trigger which rail the player should be on. So the player
Hmm.
could be
Hmm.
on a rail
Hmm.
that's kind of going in that's like a one-way rail
Hmm.
but then when you go through a gate, it switches to a looped rail and
Hmm.
you stay on that looped rail until you've killed all the enemies or hit all the objectives or whatever.
Sure.
And then it'll switch to a third rail that's one way that'll take you to the end of the level.
Yeah.
Um, I had some ideas about how to do that that seemed like, oh yeah, this should be a really easy thing to do programmatically, but I could not figure it out. The, the way Unity deals with public variables um,
Look, variable.
is more complicated than I've run into in other programming languages or
Uh-huh.
other programming work that I've done, where if you create like a public variable, then any of the other functions that you've written or any of the other code can access those. And so it's really easy to just say like, oh yeah, that public variable for like, gate number one, has gate number one been passed through? And like you just have a Boolean that says
Mm.
true or false. Um, the way Unity works is like and and there may be a really easy way to do it, but as a beginner, I just haven't figured it out. I don't
Sure,
know how to
sure.
do it.
Sure, sure, sure.
Um, Unity needs you to jump through quite a few hoops to identify and access some of these public variables. So it's a little bit trickier than I was expecting. So I'm still kind of
Yeah,
working
yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no problem. Very
um,
cool.
and I've got some like general sort of thoughts about some things that I've noticed in doing this sort of like update. But before I get into that, I've been talking for a while. Your thoughts, Chris?
No, I think this is great. Thank you so much for, I mean, it feels like you did a lot of work, man. Like doing this is it's all what I'm so jealous the fact that you're able to shoot stuff and move in Unity, whereas in Blender I can't do anything. I could just animate the hero ship with the camera and that's it. But to see the game actually in play, that's awesome. And also kudos on you for adding that extra special speed effects, both the star particles that's flying towards us, or that we're flying through, as well as that blue trail. That adds a little bit of mwah, it's even better. It makes it a lot sexier. So that's really cool. And yeah, I mean, right now whoa, what the world? Oh, that was a cool little moment. Um,
You almost
that
crashed into
yeah,
me.
I know. But yeah, I mean, this is you basically are doing with what you know right now currently. But I mean, if you learn more stuff, this can only get better. You know what I mean? So yeah, good job,
Totally.
man. Yeah, and other than that, I don't really have anything else to add to this awesome demonstration right now.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head. I think because like one of the things that's really cool about computer programming in general is once you have like some basic fundamentals under your belt, you can kind of use those things and combine them in different ways to build all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Um, One of the like most mind-blowing things for me about computer science is there's this concept called Turing complete, and that first word comes from Alan Turing, who's like one of the founding fathers of modern computers. Like he was a British man who was instrumental during World War II for creating a computer system that was able to crack the codes that the sort of like Enigma code that the Nazis were using to send encrypted messages to each other.
Hmm.
Um, and he basically he and his team built this computer that could that was able to de-encrypt or
Wow.
decrypt
Yeah.
um, that system, and they did it all in secret. And there's a really amazing movie with what's his name, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah. That
uh,
rings a bell. That movie. Yep. Hmm.
yeah, him and Keira Knightley,
Mm.
and it's kind of like it's that story. It's
Right.
really amazing. But anyway, um, he had this concept called like Turing complete, which was basically if a computer was considered Turing complete, it means it was able to do a couple of basic operations. And if it could do those basic operations, then in different combinations of those sort of like, and the basic operation would be something like add two integers together, something at that level. And if it had all of the Turing complete operations, then it basically means that that computer can be programmed to do anything you can imagine.
Right.
Is if you have enough memory and you've got a long enough set of instructions, you could really just do anything. And
Mm.
what's crazy to me is that the number of like Turing complete instructions that you need to be Turing complete is a tiny list. It's like 5 different instructions or something.
Mhm. Mhm.
So there's like these 5 different operations that, and I may be talking a little bit out of turn here, but my vague understanding is sort of like a, a layman as a novice is with like 5 or 6 foundational operations, you can build a computer that can do basically anything. So all of that is to say that at sort of like a meta level, when you're learning how to do computer programming, you can kind of do the same thing. I've only done like I think 30% of the Unity tutorial for 3D, and that's just for 3D. They also have Unity tutorial for 2D and
Mm.
mobile, and an intermediate 3D tutorial, and on and on and on. But I've only done 30% of the 3D Unity tutorial, and based on the things that I've been taught, I can start putting those things together in unique ways to solve problems. Very much like what we kind of have seen tonight, where I'm starting to put together the Cinemachine rail system along with grouping objects into a thing called a rig and combining that with the few things that I know how to do in scripting, where I can tell the Unity to do different things based on certain button inputs and accessing variables inside other things. And so with all of those things that I know, um, if I stopped learning new stuff here, like we could still, I think, get to a point where we could make a playable, functional game. Um, but to make something that I think really can be considered like a completely functional game. I think there's still a couple of additional things that I need to learn how to do.
Sure. Sure.
One of which would be like a health system, because currently the player is invincible basically.
Yeah.
I can kill the player if I turn on collisions, because then if you collide with something, you just blow up and die.
Right.
But it would be better, I think, if there was a health system and a health bar where when you get shot or crash into something, you lose health, and then maybe your health can recover. I know how to do that under the hood, how to like keep track of the player's health,
Hmm.
but I have no idea how to do a health bar. That's well, maybe not no idea. I have an idea of how to like get elements on the HUD. That actually might be something with what I know I could figure out, but I, if you wanted me to like, hey, Michael, take the next 15 minutes and just program in a health bar, like I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's something that I'd have to go away and like figure out how to do.
Sure. Sure. And we still have time to do
Um,
that, right? I mean, it's not like
yeah,
we're calling it now, you know.
right.
Yeah. And Captain Blueblu says, I don't know exactly what you've tried, so I'm not gonna go into detail, but are you talking about the collision box setting another game object's public variable? Because it sounds like casting or something. I would start looking there.
Casting. Interesting. Okay, yeah, I'll look into that. Yeah, because basically what I was doing was yeah, I wanted to create a public variable that was just like out there in the ether, and that any object in the game could access, and then have that public variable be like, gate number 1 trigger, and have it set to false. And then when the player passes through that invisible cube, the gate would then say like, oh, I've collided with the player. I'm gonna go and update that public variable to say like it was false, but now I'm gonna set it to true, and then have some other object like a swarm of drones be sitting and waiting, and those drones, their script would say like, don't do anything unless this public variable is true. So then as soon as the player passes through that cube, the cube sets that variable, that public variable, from false to true. The drones are looking for that. As soon as they see that it's true, then they go, oh, it's time to go, boys. And then they would, do their
Mm-hmm.
their animation or whatever. But I couldn't
Nice.
figure out how to get things to go and access that public variable. So I'll look into that casting thing. That might be the meal ticket there.
Cool. Thanks, Captain Blueblu. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, the last thing that I will mention that I kind of like noticed while doing this, which is, I guess, fitting, but also kind of cool, is the way I think both of us have been working on this and kind of building this is very much like making a theme park ride. Even down to the point where like some of the solutions that I've been coming up with, like this guy flying on this friendly rail here,
Mm-hmm.
that's something we would do in a dark ride where we'd
Yeah.
have like, oh yeah, this is an animated figure. He's just
Yep.
running
Mm-hmm.
around
Mm-hmm.
the tree or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was interesting to kind of start looking at this as like, huh, how fitting that we would be moving from the theme park industry to making video games, and the first video game we make is a rail shooter, which is very much like making a ride.
A ride. Yeah.
Which I think we,
Exactly.
that kind of idea had come up a couple times
Yeah.
before, but it was like it's more than just like a surface level similarity. It's like, yeah, we're actually kind of building this thing from the ground up as
Right.
if it was a ride,
It's not
which is
it's
cool.
not just a ride. It's an interactive ride.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and it's actually, that's been really helpful because it's given me a couple of ideas of like how to use the programming knowledge I have to
Yeah.
solve problems the way that like a theme park, designer would solve them.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
But it's also cool because it's like, well, we're not really limited. Like in the theme park industry, this rail system right here, you might say like, okay, well, that's all
Over
we can really
budget.
do for this guy.
It's over budget.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's over budget. It needs to be, he
Mitigate.
can't
Yep.
fly around in a circle like this. He's just got to be stationary, and maybe he spins around or something. But
Yep.
here it's like, well, it's kind of boring that he flies in this circle. Like I'm gonna actually like move this thing over here, make it huge. Maybe he changes elevation. So you know, I could have this guy fly on this like crazy ass path here. I don't even know what that's gonna look like.
You can't do that, Michael, because it will reach the interrupt the guest envelope. So that is not
Right?
within
Yeah.
regulations. I can't allow you to do that.
No reach envelope here, baby.
That's right. So you could tell me to kiss
Oh,
my ass. Yeah.
we should probably explain to the audience what a reach envelope is, because you and I
Oh,
both know what that means, but
sure. Um, a reach envelope is basically like when you're inside of a vehicle, and if a person inside of that vehicle sticks his hands out, it's basically that's the reach envelope. You need to have like a reach envelope of like maybe 2 or 3 feet, so that they aren't able to touch the structures around them. For example, like in Buzz Lightyear, we had to make sure that exactly, like the guest can't go out and reach and touch a lot of the show set elements. So that's what I meant by a reach envelope. Michael, you probably have a better way of explaining that
no, you
than me.
that was perfect, dude. That was textbook accurate.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that is about it. I'm gonna keep, you know, tinkering with stuff. Is there any so like as sort of just my general homework, I'm just gonna keep tinkering with things and
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
figure stuff out. But is there anything in particular that you have feedback on and that you would like to see um,
Um,
that I can maybe try to get done between now and next session?
No, I would say just learn as much stuff as you can, because that's the most important thing. Because right now you have the building blocks to build a very elementary and sustainable and playable game. But what's going to make the game even better is if you learn more stuff in there that, for example, that trigger box, right? You pass through a trigger, and then that when that trigger is passed, or when that box is triggered, then a whole bunch of other stuff that happens. So, obviously figure that out. That's super important. And yeah, I think it's going well. I just the next thing I want to talk about is kind of our schedule and what we can do to move this our game forward. But other than that, on your end, just keep learning as much stuff as you can, dude.
Sure, can
Yeah.
do. Yeah, I'm gonna keep learning things, and I what I might try to do between now and next time is start working on a list of like the essentials, things
Mm,
that I don't think the game can go into beta or even ship without like the health system. Like that's
sure.
obviously a
Sure.
pretty
Yeah.
fundamental thing that I need to figure out. So
Yeah.
I'll try to start working on that list and then prioritizing. Then we can talk about it and you maybe even go over it with the chat. And if anybody else sees anything that maybe is missing, then we can add it to that list, and I can focus on those things.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, I'm also just going to keep doing Unity tutorials as I
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
because there's always little nuggets of things there that I like. If I'm learning how to make a different game, there's something in there that I go, ooh, that actually can help the rail shooter.
Mhm.
So I'll just keep doing that.
Yeah.
Um, great.
Awesome.
Uh, yep.
Uh
So that's the end of that update. Or go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was gonna read what Captain Blue Blue said. And Captain Blue said, "Oh yeah, it can't exist in a ether. I think there will have to be in." Sorry, Michael. Can you read that? I'm gonna have trouble
Sure. Here,
pronouncing
I'm
that.
gonna stop sharing
Yeah.
since we're done
It will
here.
have to be an instantaneous. I don't know how to read that word.
Oh
Sorry.
my gosh, there's a lot of text here.
Yeah.
Where should um wait, so where are we? Did we read Kings about varying speeds can offer a huge different play style, like you
Yeah.
said?
Yeah. Keep going all the way down to it was invisible, of course.
Okay, so right above that?
Above
Or
for example, I made a timer for daylight in the level.
got it. Okay. Oh yeah, it can't exist in the ether, I think. There will have to be instantiate there yeah, there will have to be instantiate in the game world itself, which basically just means that
What's
there
that
needs
mean?
to be an instance
Oh,
that
okay.
that variable can be attached to, which is kind of like, you can think of, at least in the computer programming world, you could have something called like a class, and you could have the class is called the car class, right? Or actually, even better, in our game, we have something called like the enemy class, right?
Oh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Um, which is basically all the different drones. Uh, but an instance of a drone is like drone number 137 flying around. He's an instantiation
Oh,
of the
sure.
enemy class.
Oh,
So he
gotcha.
has all of the, you are an instance of a human being, and so am
Right.
I.
Yeah,
Um, so that's what instantiation means. It's just like
got
you
it.
need to actually make a thing,
I
and then
I'm
it's going
I
to have some
never
stuff attached to it.
I've never read that or seen that word before. Is that a
There you go.
programming word that you guys use a lot? A lot?
Yeah, in programming, yeah, that comes up
Okay.
quite a bit.
Instantiate.
In regular English, it's a little less common,
Mm, okay.
quite a bit less common actually. Um, okay, so instantiate it in the game world itself. An invisible game object, for example. Yep, that's the invisible cube that I created. Then other objects do what's called casting, where one game object sends or reads data from another. Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, that there's something kind of like that in some other programs I've done where there's like one object emits a signal and then the other object has like a listener function, so it's like listening for the signal, and then when the one sends the signal, the other one hears it and then does something. So it sounds like maybe Unity's doing has something like that, but it's called casting. So I'll look into that. Thank you, Captain Blue Blue.
Yeah, thank you so much. Learning
And
a
then he
lot
also
from
said
you
for
guys.
yeah, it's great. Um, For example, I made a timer for the daylight in a level, so I had to have a game object in the scene who held that information. It was invisible, of course. Yeah, so that's the thing that is a little trickier for me coming from some of these other programming languages is where those variables have to be attached to a thing, and then once that thing owns those variables, getting another object to access them is tough. Whereas in like programming an app in Swift for your phone, I could just say like, oh, this is a public variable, and then any of the other functions that it's doing, it's like they can all see it. They don't. There's no like weird thing where I have to like, oh, you got to go talk to this program over here or to this part of the code over here because it has the information you need, and you got to know the secret password to get in. It's not like that. It's a little weird. But yes, thank you for the tips. Those are really helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Cap. Appreciate it, dude.
Um, Before we dive into our discussion about the sort of like timeline and schedule, can we take a quick uh, bathroom break?
Yes, yes, we can. We will be back in a few minutes, guys. All right.
Okie dokie, I'm back.
And we're back. All right, we're back, guys. Thank you so much for being patient with us. Sometimes, when nature
Nature
calls,
calls.
when nature calls. All right. Okay. And the next thing that we want to talk about is scheduling, right?
Hmm.
All right. Okay. So, before the show started, Michael and I were essentially discussing kind of like what is our timeline for this game? Should we set one? And the answer is that is yes, we definitely should have a soft deadline, right? Because I noted that if I don't have a schedule, I will keep working on this until the end of time. So I kind of need to um, I need a end goal. I need an end date. I need a due date so that I'm able to say, all right, we're done. This is it, and then we can kind of ship the package, right? However, that's not really the case. Obviously, it's going to be a soft deadline. I wanted to get our game up to a certain point and then be like, all right, this is good. If we had to ship it today, this is as good as it gets. But obviously, would be kind of like the phase one of everything. If we decided, oh, if we give ourselves a little bit more time to work on it, then we go give ourselves more time, like a phase two, right? And then so on and so forth. So yeah, Michael, what do you think about that?
Well, so to recap a little bit of our earlier conversation, I think it's a really good idea because I am uh, definitely a believer in the idea of kind of like what I mentioned, the work expanding to fill the time allowed. So however much time you assign to a given task, um, the team working on it will take that entire amount of time um, to get it done. So we really should put a deadline, and I think it's appropriate for us to call it a soft deadline, not a hard
Yeah,
deadline,
yeah,
for the very fact that we've never done this before, so we don't know like what is realistic, and also s- our ability to move through this unknown terrain at the necessary speed to get to, let's say it's like a September deadline. Um, we don't know like what's in the jungle because we've never done it before. If we had made several games, then we would know like, oh yeah, it takes about this amount of time to work through, the sand traps and the poison ivy, and there's going to be a jaguar attack, and we're going to have all these things we're going to deal with, and we got a pretty good idea how to deal with them and how much time it's going to take. We have no idea. Like we don't know what's in there. Um, so I think it's appropriate to make it soft and do our best to try to like drive to it. And then if we need some like additional wiggle room, or we get to a point where we're like, okay, we got to the deadline, we've got a thing, got a couple of gaping holes. Now if we can have a little bit more time, we can, patch those holes and then
yeah.
have something that we can ship. But I think, yeah, it's important for us um, at this stage to start talking about a deadline. Because I guess that's the other thing too, is like with creative projects, I think there's a certain amount of time up front where things need to kind of be open ended, where
Hmm.
you're kind of just like exploring and seeing what could be, like what are we excited about, because there was a many months where we were spending where we didn't even know that we were going to make a video game, let
Right,
alone a rail shooter video game.
right.
um, and now that we figured that out and we've got a lot of legwork done, now we can start seeing like, okay, this thing has enough shape and form to it that we can start to dictate to ourselves the expectation of completion. We can
Hmm.
start seeing like, okay, it the infinite possibilities have really been honed in and continue to hone in even further of like what this thing is going to be or can be. And so now, yeah, I think it's appropriate for us to start talking about timelines, especially too because I'm having a great time making this, and I'm really excited about what we're gonna do, and it's really fun to see your updates each week. Because especially because anything that like I'm not working on is like a surprise to me. It's like, oh wow, cool.
Yes, no, same here.
Like all the Scene 5 stuff is,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's fun. But at the same time, I'm also really eager to work on some of the other projects that we've been talking about. Um, so so yeah, so having like some kind of date, some kind of line in the sand where we can say, okay, that's when we are going. Like that's the target. Past that point, we can do other things.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
can, you know, launch this thing. We could we'll have birthed this child into the world, and then we can send it off to college. Yeah, I very long, rambly, verbose way of saying yes. I agree.
Yeah,
we should have a deadline.
yeah, nice. And Michael, just want to let you know that our first official Creative Tavern meeting, or no, I'm sorry, not the first Creative Tavern meeting, but the first Project Rail Shooter meeting that we had here on Twitch was on April 10th. April 10th. So we've been doing this from the little thumbnails that I did. Remember of the little green, gas
Yeah, yeah,
fueled
yeah.
bots. Remember those little thumbnail sketches? Those were done in April 10th. So
It's
over
been about 2 months.
almost 2 months. In 2 days it'll be like 2 months. We went from there to where we are here. So within 2 months we got a lot of stuff done, by the way. Oh, and by the way, hello Confetti Yeti, good to see you.
Confetti. Hello, welcome.
Hello. So yeah, Michael, the within these 2 months in my opinion, I think we got a lot of stuff done. And so with that said, do you have an educated kind of guess estimate as to how maybe like what's this good soft deadline for phase one? Phase one meaning that we will have something for the players to play, or maybe it's just a game that's all textured and rigged and everything. Um, yeah, do you have an idea? Like, do you want to take a guess?
Well, you're gonna have to help with the textured components because I don't know how involved
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is.
yeah.
I can definitely speak to like a functional, playable game with like the off-the-shelf polygon assets that we have. I
Right.
can give a kind of a guess for that. So let's see. That was April to May to June. Um, well, you know what would be cool? I know you kind of threw it out there as sort of like just a random example, but it would be nice to be done with this at the latest by the end of the year. Um, and what could be cool is we could do a soft September deadline, and then when we get to that, that leaves us the last 3 months of the year to, race to
Polish.
the finish.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so we could, yeah, like, so why don't we try to target having a completed, un, potentially unpolished thing by the end of September.
Mhm,
Then
mhm.
we can use October as the like, oh crap, here we need to patch all the holes we didn't get to.
Right.
Um, and then maybe November, December is sort of like additional polish. Like, okay, the thing's basically done, but let's go through our list of like, here are all the things where there's like a little visual bug here, or oh yeah, that we wanted to do a updated texture for this thing over here.
Yeah.
And then we can spend the last 2 months there. And somewhere in there, we can do a beta, probably like either at the end of September or October. We can do the beta,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
which we can then share it with people, get their feedback, and while the beta is going, we can do the sort of polish work that we knew that we were going to do anyway,
Right, right.
um, and kind of get feedback. Like, I don't know. Like, does
I
that sound okay?
I like it. I like it. I like the fact that it is within this year. Um, I would love it if I can have all the assets done by mid-August and then have it delivered exported into Unity. And again, just like you said, by the end, by either I don't know if it's by the start of September or mid-September or end of September. Just in September, we would have a good beta for people to play, for you guys in the chat as well, to just see how it feels, how it plays, how it installs, if there are any bugs or anything, and then give us that time in October and November to just keep polishing, just keep polishing, and then get it as good as we can, and then maybe launch it in, beginning of December or mid December maybe.
Hmm. Yeah.
Cause yeah, I think that should be okay. Cause we're at a pretty good point. I mean, we kind of established what scene 5 is. I kind of established what scene 4 can look like, as well as scene 3. Now we just got to do scene 2/1 together, and then we more or less are all set. The dirty work for me, or not the dirty work, the hard work is essentially, just texturing and, optimizing the models, and throwing it into Unity and animating it. Um, I'm sure I'm gonna struggle with that a little bit, because obviously I'm not gonna have you do all the work in Unity, like placing stuff inside. I definitely want to be able to do that as well. So I will be struggling there for a little bit. But at least I want to have all the assets done for the entire level 1 game, by mid August. So that gives me like a little bit more than 2 months to finish everything up. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I like the idea of using the entire month of September as sort of like the target for beta release. And we won't say whether it's the beginning of the month or the end of the month, but just like in that month, the goal is to launch the beta,
Yeah.
um, or the alpha, if it's
Uh,
at that stage.
oh,
Um,
oh, right. Alpha.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then getting it done by the end of the year, like getting to a point where by the middle of December, we're like, okay, here is a finished thing.
Hmm.
We're all done. There it is. Um, I would maybe call that this sort of like the MVP we've been talking about, the completed first level, complete vertical slice of the game. It's its own standalone thing. That would be the thing that we're trying to ship by middle to end of December. Does that sound
Yeah. That
right?
sounds
Okay.
good to me. That sounds good to me. Because I I mean, as much as I love working on this game, I don't want to work on it forever. Like you said, there are other projects I want us to get to, um, but that's not the real reason. The real reason is just I want to finish this game. I want to get it done, because I know for a fact that if I don't push myself hard enough, I'll just be in, just purgatory,
Yeah.
design this thing forever and ever. Um, so yeah, okay, so awesome. So mid August, I will try to have all my assets all completed and delivered into Unity. And then in by the in September we'll have a it's interesting you said alpha, and I never realized there's an alpha. I mean, alpha comes before beta obviously, but do games use
Yeah.
alpha, the code alpha?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I
Mhm.
didn't know that.
Yeah, usually alpha is reserved for uh, it's for games that are quite early that may have substantial bugs or
Oh,
missing
okay,
components or like
sure.
notes that they send out to the play testers like, hey, don't walk through this door because that level's not built yet and it'll crash the game. Things
Oh,
like
okay.
that. But
Oh,
a
okay, okay.
beta is much, much further along. Kind of like with the Overwatch 2 beta that we did, where it's basically a completed game.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, there may be a really rare bug. I don't know if you noticed, but there was a point in time where they disabled Hammond, where you couldn't play Wrecking Ball anymore.
Oh.
Um, that's because they discovered there was a bug that could make him invincible or crash the game or something like that, so nobody else could kill him.
Mm,
So then they just disabled him. But other
okay.
than that, like that game ran basically as if like, oh yeah, if they had shipped this, I wouldn't have been mad. They're like, oh, the
Mm,
game's broken. So
mhm.
beta is usually reserved for something that is
More polished.
mostly bug free, mostly done, and they just want to see like, does this character have too much health? Is this level too hard? Like, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure where we will be by September, so it may very well be more of like an alpha that then will require significant fixes for us to make. Or
Okay,
if it's pretty polished and bug free, then we can call it a beta.
nice.
We'll see.
Okay, yeah, nice. And Captain Blue says, sounds good. To stage it, you won't probably find the holes until you send it out for testers to find. Yeah, that's true.
Totally.
He also says something I have learned is that you are very blind to your own mistakes. Amen to that, which is why, I have Michael to always check my work. Um, he also says there is even a pre-alpha stage.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow, damn.
Yep. And there's like internal, private, closed alphas and public alpha or like invitation only alphas. Yeah,
Mm,
there's a lot of rounds of testing that can go
sure,
into,
that makes
especially the
sense.
like really big games.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things can take a long time.
Got it. Cool. All right. So that is good. Our soft end date is September. September. Okay.
And what I would like to do for my homework assignment, and feel free if you want to work on this as well, but I'm going to take that and sort of like backtrack from there to create a sort of timeline with maybe some soft milestone goals
hmm
for us
hmm
about like, hey, if you want to stay on track, we need to be done with this level or with these assets by this week, and so on and so forth. That way we can have like a
Yeah.
rough idea of are we on pace to make our target or not? Do we need to speed up? Can we slow down? That'll kind of give us a little bit more of an idea.
I'm afraid to do that because I fear that once I do that, I'm gonna realize like, oh crap, I
There's
need
not enough
actually.
time.
There's not enough
We're
time,
screwed.
man. Yeah, we can't launch it until 2024. Don't say that.
No.
Don't say that. But yeah, I think I will do that. I will go ahead and take the time that we have allotted ourselves and then just break it down and we could report back to each other of how our list is. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah. Captain Blue says face the fear or let it blindside you. Yeah. And that's kind of why we kind of asked that question to ourselves before the meeting because I was designing scene 3 and I was just like, I could design this thing forever. Maybe I should, talk to Michael and see when we should give ourselves a cap for this project. Because if we don't, we'll just keep working on this forever. And that's kind of like I'm trying to put my own producer's hat on as well to know that there's a just pencils down, Chris. It's you gotta have a control your time wisely, and which I think I currently am. I'm giving myself X amount of hours in a day to work on this, as well as on my other stuff, as well as my own work stuff, and trying to keep balance. And balance is very important because you got to sleep, you got to eat, you got to play video games. Don't forget about that too. You got to socialize. Luckily, that my socialization is also goes hand in hand with Overwatch with Michael. So that's always good. So yeah, balance is the key. Never ever try to overdo one thing because that's not healthy at all. Always, get your rest and everything. Uh, but yeah, Michael, do you have anything else to add with this schedule or anything?
Nope, I don't think so. I'm really curious to see what shakes out when I do the sort of like map. Uh, but yeah, I think it was a really good suggestion. I think we need it. I think we're ready for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's exciting to think that, oh, wow, this thing's gonna be done and out in the world by the end of the year. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome that we started this unofficially started this like only in April. Although we talked about it for a long time, it took us like over a year to decide what we wanted to do as a project, right? But it's coming along quite nicely, and only 2 months have passed, and we have a pretty good amount of work to me at least, and I can't wait to see what we have in September. Hopefully we have a good alpha or pre-alpha, and then we'll just keep polishing it up Like what you said, right? The special effects, the acceleration blue trails. We can take all the time we need in October, November to figure out every little thing to make it work and make it look even better, right? So yeah,
Yeah, and the cool thing is if we run out of time, well, we still have a placeholder in there. There's still something in there. It sure doesn't look the best, but
yeah,
the functionality is in the game. So if
yeah,
we can like get to those things, then yeah, hopefully we can really beautify the game and make it our
mhm,
own at some point. But the most important thing is to get it functional first.
yeah, yeah. Cool. I
We
think
gotta
this,
get all of the need to haves done. Then we
yeah,
can do the want to haves.
yeah, and I think it's like get the meat and bones all set and ready, and then after that, desserts comes, and then we'll have the time to make everything look nice and sexy and beautiful. Um, so yeah, I feel good. I feel good with that timeline. I again, I got to do that little what you suggested. Just to list everything out and see if it makes sense, and then we'll and then I'll see if it actually does take a little bit more time or if that's more time than I need. Who knows? But I got to figure that out, and I'll report back to you on Sunday for that. Yeah, awesome.
Fantastic.
Cool, 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 cool. Okay, all right. So next thing that I want to move on to, let me see, let me see. Michael, do you want to take the time right now and look at some of the amazing artwork that is in our gallery?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let me do this. Let me share screens and screen number 4. Boom. Oh, and then I'm gonna do this. Bam. Cool. Video application. Obviously, Michael, you see nothing right now, right?
Correct.
All right. Okay. Let me do this. Chrome. Nope, nothing. Sorry, guys. Oh, sorry. This is you can
No
see
problem.
this,
Take your
right?
time.
All right. Okay. See Twitch.
Yep, I can see something now.
Yeah, unfortunately, the OBS doesn't want me to doesn't is not opening up the Chrome Twitch. That is so weird. I don't know why it's doing that.
If
Hmm.
it's helpful, I can just watch on the stream.
Oh, there it is. That boom. All right, cool.
Oh, you
Oh
got it?
no. Yep, I got it. I got it. Yeah. Thank you. So
Fantastic.
this was sketched by our good friend, the Malefic Topcat. He actually was
Awesome.
able to go back and he got his Twitch stream running again, so that was good. He apparently he changed his phone number, and then so he needed like a
Mm,
two-step authentication, and he wasn't able to do that, and then so he was more or less kind of locked out for X amount of days, and then so he was
oh,
streaming on
geez.
YouTube instead. I was like, oh, he streams on YouTube as well. I did not know that. But yeah,
Cool.
this is artwork that he did on the during the YouTube stream, and it was very cool. And I love the fact that he uses so many different colors in this piece. I myself,
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed my art, but a lot of my art is all monochromatic. Or what's it called? Uh, it's not monochromatic. It's the colors that I
It's
use
like
is
a
it's
limited palette, right? Where
very
you're like
very ex-
like a little wedge on the color wheel. Yeah, I
exactly.
know there's a name for that. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, I mean, as a concept designer, I should know the name. Harmonious palette or some
Hmm,
junk like
that
that.
sounds yeah.
I don't remember. But like for example, I if it was just reds, I would use reds and orange and browns.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like what I do. But here, uh, Top Cat is able to utilize all the colors vibrantly and so in a very very balanced way too. I see the yellow and I see the purple. Those are complementary colors. I think that's really really nice and it's very dynamic. So I really really like that. So oh hey gentlemen, Heavy is back. I returned
Welcome
after
back.
D&D. Hey, welcome back. We're just looking at some artwork right now. And Richard is here. Yo, guys, great to see you. Hey, Richard.
Richard, welcome.
Welcome,
Good
welcome.
to have you, man.
Hey, yeah. So yes, this is Topcat's work. Topcat has a webtoon comic currently right now, and if you guys are interested, make sure you guys go and check that out as well. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at another piece. This piece is done
Ooh,
by
cool.
our good friend Fudo. He is amazing at line art. I asked him if he's going
Yeah, I
to.
was just gonna compliment the line art.
Yeah, I was gonna ask him, or I was gonna, well, I asked him if he was gonna color it, but he says he's just keeping it as line art for now, and I think that's totally fine. What's awesome to me is that his anatomy is getting better and better each time I see his work. Like I
Hmm.
definitely struggle with anatomy. For example, like the eyes and nose placement and the mouth and chin and all. He does a really, really great job with it. And so
Yeah,
I
anatomy is hard.
it really is. And I hope that he continues to work on his craft and, keep posting on in the Discord so that we can just be in awe of his work. So yeah, man, really really awesome job, Fudo. If you're in here, and oh, this is
Ooh, cool.
Gentleman Heavy. He went to his con. It's
Awesome
called
con.
Awesome Con. I never even heard of Awesome Con before, and this is
Yeah,
really really cool. And unfortunately, this is I don't know if it's con related, but he unfortunately got sick
oh
apparently
no.
because one of his buddies' parents had COVID, and then he got sick from there. And but before that, they were able to take this photo together. And unfortunately, he also had another buddy who is taking this photo, so he's not in this photo. And I mean that's what sucks about having, Well, that's weird. You guys should have got someone else to, take this photo. Also, all four of you guys could be in this in it. Um, but yeah, it was cool. How did you like the con? Was the con awesome? Was it crowded? Did you buy any nice gifts and toys and posters and whatnot? Let us know, man. But yeah, I hope you feel better, Gentleman Heavy, because I know being sick totally sucks. Yeah. Man, she like painted herself all blue too. That's like dedication. Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Ah, darn. Awesome Con becomes COVID Con. Oh no. Yeah,
Oh
that's
no.
awful. All right, and then this next one here
Ooh,
is
cool.
done by Feathery Justice. And I asked Feathery in the Discord whether she did this in Photoshop or in Clip Studio Paint, and she said Clip Studio Paint, which I could kind of
Nice.
yeah, I could kind of gather because the line art here is good. And
Mm,
you guys already hear me bitch and moan saying that um Photoshop doesn't really have good lines. I can never get good lines with Photoshop, but for some odd reason, Clip Studio Paint does an amazing job with the lines. So yeah, thank you so much, Feathery Justice, for posting this. This is really really cool. Is this my question to you is this your OC character? Is this your OC character? And did you design this for yourself or for other? Actually, I think you already said it before. One of the most recent favorite artworks of mine. This character belongs to her friend. Oh, okay, so it's not her OC character. She just basically made a rendering of her friend's character. So that's very nice of you, dude. That's really awesome.
yeah,
Very,
that's
very
cool.
cool. Yeah.
I like how the tail and the ears are like detached and kind of floating.
Mm.
It's kind of interesting. It's got like a Rayman vibe.
Yeah. It's like it's part of it, but it's not part of it. It's like
Hmm.
he can activate it whenever he wants to. So that's really, really cool. So yeah, good job with the cell shading. She's going more for kind of like a cell shaded look, which, believe it
Yeah,
or
it
not,
looks great.
it's not easy. Like getting the cell shading in the right place, it's freaking hard, dude.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like because it's so minimalist, you don't have a lot of room for error. You've got to really do a lot with a little.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, cool. Again, you guys, if you any of you guys in the chat have any amazing artwork, anything at all, please let us know, and we will take a look at it, man. Thank you
Yeah,
guys
keep up
again.
the great work, guys.
Yeah, thanks again for
This is
sharing.
awesome.
Gentleman Heavy says it was fun. I got a bunch of prints, pins, and stickers from a whole bunch of really talented artists. That is cool. Like I said in the gallery, I would be happy to post pictures of them and credit the artist. Yeah, no, if you think something is awesome to share, feel free to share it, man. We'll take a look at the at it in Discord, man. So yeah, please, if you think so, please share. And I'm glad you had a good time in AwesomeCon, but it sucks that you got sick. I'm sorry that you got sick. Hopefully you're getting better and better, man. Captain Blue Boo says he dropped something. Oh, did he drop something? All right, let me take a look. Okay. So yeah, he did do a 2-minute sketch. So let me see if I could
Cool.
do this really quick. Sorry, usually I just pop this out into. Hold on, let me see if I can do this. Boop. Open original. And let me drag this right in here. Oh, no, it doesn't want to do that.
Oh,
So,
cool.
boop.
There we go. Yeah,
Um,
awesome.
nice. So this is like a beginning sketch of a character. So that's awesome, man. That is awesome. I would
And
say, yeah, keep going, man. Keep going.
yeah,
Very, very nice.
I love graphite pencil sketches. They're
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah, there's
The texture.
exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like when working digitally versus working with traditional medium is so different. It's so different.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I still have a lot of like or not a lot, but I still have a few sketchbooks with like all the doodles that I had from high school and everything. It's fun. It's fun to look at. It's definitely fun to look at.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it weren't for the fact that it's so messy, I would do a lot more of it. But I can't stand like having all the graphite on my
Oh yeah.
wrist.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, digital, it's really difficult to replicate that kind of texture and
Traditional.
feel.
Yeah. Yeah. But yes.
It's still cool. Yeah, it looks great. Keep going.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Kambula said I just wanted form here then detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Nice. Um, yeah, thank you guys so much for posting. I can't wait to see more of your guys' amazing artwork. Uh, very cool. Sweet. All right. So we have like a few minutes left before we wrap things up. If you guys have any questions for Michael and myself, we are here to answer them. And let me just go ahead and close some of these things. And when we go offline, Michael, I want to I want to give you a sneak peek of scene 3 because I would love to
Ooh,
get some of your input. You guys won't see it until Sunday, and then it'll be
the
really
cliffhanger.
magical. But yeah, I definitely want to get some of Michael's input because I don't want to keep working and then just not doing a good job or anything like that. Um, but yeah, Michael, did you have dinner yet at all? And if so, what
No,
did you eat?
just barely woke up
Ah,
before
ah,
we jumped on stream.
ah.
So, yeah, I'll go eat something, get my
What do
day
you
started.
what are you planning on eating?
Um, I don't know. I mean, like so the other day I was out for a walk and there was some kind of plant or tree or like mulch or something that smelled like barbecue sauce. Like
Oh gosh.
it smelled great.
Yeah.
And because I was out like walking around, like instantly I was like, man, I really need barbecue sauce right now. And I didn't have any, so I, kind of took a detour on my walk to go get barbecue sauce, and I've
Uh-huh,
just
uh-huh.
been eating barbecue sauce with everything. So I had like a big bowl of tofu with barbecue sauce on it, and
Nice.
like rice and veggies loaded with barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm on a barbecue sauce kick. Whatever it is, it's gonna have barbecue sauce on it.
Oh man, like
And
you're
cool.
mentioning you mentioning barbecue sauce just made
Now
my
you
like
want some?
made my mouth just like there's saliva in my mouth. And I'm just like yum
It's
yum yum.
so good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know.
S-
Like barbecue
Especially in
sauce is amazing.
Texas. Yeah, Texas, right? Austin should have like amazing barbecue
Yeah,
places, right?
we are very famous for barbecue and for Tex-Mex. And actually, one of like my favorite barbecue sauces is like Stubbs barbecue sauce, right?
Mm.
Apparently, Stubbs is from Austin, Texas. Like that's where they're
Oh
from.
wow.
So
Holy cow. Nice.
there you go.
That is awesome. Captain Blue Blue says,
Yeah,
great stream as always. Thank you so much, Captain Blue Blue. Really appreciate it. I know it's super late for you over there. So anytime you show up, Michael and I really, really appreciate your presence here, man. Really, really thank you so much. Um,
for sure.
can't wait to see where things go from here. That makes the all three of us, right? And don't sweat it. What isn't in the game yet, it will come. Yeah. Thank you for your encouragement. I guess the game dev is similar to park rides. It looks unsellable until you are at the last are at the last 5% and things happen really fast. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah, I remember designing, rides for Buzz Lightyear and at the end of the design phase, we were moving 100 mile a minute. It's funny, when we're in the concept phase, we feel like, oh, we still have plenty of time, and oh, it's fine. We'll just figure that out at the end. And then we're at the end, like, shit, we should have figured this out in the beginning. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah,
oh
right?
yeah, 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 yeah. And then we're doing like QC quality check, and then it's like, whoa, what's going on with this file? Why is there a streak of artifact in my art in my file, right? And then I go back and look, and there it is. There's like a little weird artifacting lines. I was like, oh, holy cow! It's like it looks okay on screen because it's really tiny, but when you're printing it
Mm,
like a freaking huge
mm-hmm.
one-to-one scale, like 20 feet by 40 feet, you notice the artifact, right? And then
Totally.
so I had to like drive to the print vendor, and then I had to like actually look at it, and then luckily it wasn't that big of a deal because I freaked out because it was going to get packaged and then shipped to Shanghai. And then so once it's gone, it's gone. You're done. It's like any mistakes is there. Millions and millions of people will see like, oh, that artist fucked up. It's like he didn't get that right. It's like, oh man,
Yep.
even though they don't know it's me, I will know that people will know. So luckily everything
Yeah.
was fine, and that was I mean that is the pressure of it all, right? It's like your work or my work at the time is like, yeah, if you screw up, people will know. And if you want to fix it, it's going to cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And also the time it takes to print and shipped over to Shanghai. And the fact that it's not, yes, you fix it, you printed it, but the time that it took to print, um, it's not the same quality of ink and temperature. So the blue that was printed 6 months ago, that fresh blue that was just painted is not going to match up with the blue that just shipped. So you basically want to get it right the first time, if at all possible. And so luckily, thank goodness, nothing bad happened. So yeah, anyways, that's a long story. I don't know why I was talking about this. Oh, right,
The
because
mad scramble at the last
yeah.
5%.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. How about you, Michael? Yeah, have you had any experiences that you had that you can share without getting into legal trouble or anything?
Yeah. So the thing that I would say with regard to that is one of the most surprising things to me when I got into the industry, and like even as recently as the last project that I was on, after having done this for many years, well, for several years, not many, um, is it's really surprising how much of the project it looks like it's just this. It's nothing remotely close to a theme park. You spend a whole bunch of time up front where it's just dirt, It's
Mm.
just dirt, and then you've got drawings and this sort of like vision of what it could be. Then it goes from dirt to being dirt and concrete. And
Mhm.
then it stays in that dirt and concrete phase for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then like and 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 by long time I mean like years. And then all of a sudden, like a couple months before the thing's gonna open, which on the time scale of like theme parks is this tiny little sliver over here, suddenly color starts to like explode into the space, and things are getting installed and starting to, and then there's music playing because now the speaker system is working.
Oh yeah.
And just like very rapidly it goes from your daily work site being dirt and concrete and
Hmm.
lots of loud machinery and stuff
Hmm.
to looking like a finished theme park environment. And it happens so fast that it's kind of this like breathtaking moment. But yeah, it really is remarkable how much change there is at the very end. Because like if you back up just a little bit, you're like, man, this thing doesn't look anything like a theme park. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on here?
Yeah.
And then very quickly it transforms almost overnight.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. It's and I remember both you and Richard. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'll say it anyways. I think it's okay. I think before I came back here to the States, you and Richard actually gave me a tour of the Super Mario Land, and because I never go out into the field, right? I'm just in my little cubicle just drawing, And finally you and Michael or you and Richard actually took me out there and actually showed me where all the murals that I designed where it was going to be installed. And actually it was already installed and I was like, "Oh wow, so this is what I've been busting my ass doing for the past 3 weeks." It's like, "Oh, it looks pretty good. It's nice, So yeah, thank you so much for that. And unfortunately, when before I left, there was still oh god, what's it called? Scaffolding. There.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a bunch of them, so I didn't really actually get to see the beautiful land that it is now, right? You saw a lot of it, right, Michael? You were there and just saw the completion of the land, correct?
I wasn't there for the completion because the pandemic situation
Oh, right.
really threw a monkey wrench in the whole thing.
Sure.
Um, but I was there for a while. I got pretty close to the end. I think Richard was there all the way through to the finish and actually got to be one of the
Nice.
first guests in the park. But yeah, I got to see it with a lot of the scaffolding down because that's
Mm,
another thing about the theme park. The sort of like the exciting stuff happening in the last like 5% is that yeah, you have a ton of scaffolding up everywhere, so you can't really see what the thing looks like because you have these like metal bars and ramps and things that are erected around a thing in order for people to sculpt and to paint and to do
mhm,
things.
mhm,
And then when they're done, they dismantle the scaffolding, and then you can see the like beautiful thing that was hiding underneath there. Um, so yeah, that's also a cool moment too when you see like
yeah.
scaffolding come down. Um, so yeah, it's fun. Like it's hard. Like theme parks are hard,
Hard, yeah.
really hard projects,
Yeah.
but they're also a lot of fun and really exciting. They've got moments like that where it's like,
Yeah.
wow, whoa,
It's really the last 3% of the milestones, like the last few days, then you realize all that hard work, it came down to that moment where you actually see your hard work go up, and it's like, oh man, it was actually worth it. All those late nights and meetings and discussions and redesigns and stress and shit, it's all worth it
and
at the end.
holding. Yeah, and like holding your breath the whole way to like, gosh, I hope this works. And then
Yeah,
you finally see it like, oh, whew,
thank
it
God.
worked. It
Yeah,
looks good.
yeah. Richard,
Because,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Michael.
well, I was just gonna say because, if you're doing something digitally, like you're trying something in a video game, you're like, oh, that didn't work. Control Z, let me try it
Yeah.
again. You can't do that in the theme parks. It's like this thing has got a 13-month lead time if we want to change it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, we're opening in 4 months, so it's staying as is.
Yep, exactly. Richard says, can't beat the barbecue sauce, Michael. By the way, I just watched the whole No Man's Sky video from the Internet Historian. What a tale, such courage. It
right?
made me think of you guys and how the journey to a great game is such a noble one. Ah, thanks so much for
Thanks,
sharing.
man.
Uh, us guests don't notice. It is those executive and fellow artists that make you reprint it. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh yeah, great day, but it was a bittersweet. No more Chris, never the same after that. Oh, that's very kind of you to say. It did suck. I did miss you guys. I did miss Japan. Something about living in Asia makes me feel alive. I don't know why. Like living in America, I don't know what it is. I think s- discussed this with you, Michael. Like, for some odd maybe it's like a energy, like aura in Asia that makes me feel more conscious, I guess. Like when I'm in America, I feel like I'm just existing. But when I'm actually in Asia, like in Taiwan or Thailand or in Japan or in China, Shanghai, my mindset is a little bit more activated and I'm more social. I do more things. I don't know what it is. I have a feeling it's because of the transportation system that I'm able to go to various places at ease without driving. I don't know what it is.
Yep,
Michael, do you feel that way at all? Anything?
100%. Yep,
Yeah.
completely agree. In the United States, I feel like I'm just, yeah, just getting by. But
Yeah.
when I live in Asian countries, lived in China, lived in Japan, and Japan especially, there's like accessibility to adventure, to
Mm,
like going out and doing things. Whereas in the United States, yeah, especially if you don't have a car and you don't drive, which I don't, yeah, it's hard. And I
yeah.
think another factor too, and not to get, I'll avoid getting too dark about it, but um, the the two of the three safest cities in the entire world are in Japan. Tokyo's number one and Osaka's number three.
Mm,
And we lived in Osaka. I can't overstate the like life altering function that living in a in a city that safe has,
mm,
where you just never think about like going anywhere or visiting anywhere or exploring, just wandering around the city and going down back alleys and finding like really cool little, mom and pop ramen shops and the way that they've decorated it. Uh, in the United States, in any major metropolitan area, you've got to be careful about
oh
making that
yeah.
kind of exploration. You've got to pick like certain time window, like okay, we got to make sure we do this while the sun's up, and when it gets dark, make sure you've got people with you in
Hmm,
case
hmm.
anything run into something weird. But in Japan, it's not like that. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go out with friends, many of who were girls, and then we would be at like a bar or something and then wrap up at 2 in the morning and they would walk home themselves and
Yeah.
it's fine. Like they're just
Yeah.
not in danger at all. And so being able to like release that burden of like, okay, I gotta be careful, I gotta be conscious, gotta watch out because people are crazy out there. It's not like that.
Hmm,
So
hmm.
you're just free to like, oh yeah, it's midnight, I'm gonna go for a walk in the park. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And then it is because it's
Yeah.
Japan. And you're safe. Um, so yeah, I agree. There is something really invigorating about living in some of the Asian countries for a lot of those reasons. So yeah,
Yeah.
I feel you, man.
Yeah. I remember going to dinner with me, Andy, and another person who his origin was from Europe. I forget his name and I forget what country he was from. And he was basically saying like, "Oh yeah, I know this amazing gyoza place." And then so he basically took me and Andy to that place. And that place was like located in like the darkest like alleyway, like you have to go underneath this thing and then tuck go or like this in order to pass few like buildings and then it was getting scary. I'm like, dude, this is like the really shady area. And then again, I forgot what's his name. He was like, "What? You guys don't go to places to go eat like this in America?" I'm like, "Dude, if we're like, in places like this in America at night at this hour, we'll get fucking stabbed or get shot or get mugged, you know? So yeah, the whole mentality where they're from and in Japan is totally different than here. Cause when I was going through that dark alley, going through those buildings and everything, I'm like, my guard is up because I'm trained, you know, to be on the lookout for stuff happening because that's just the nature of things here in America. You know, you get and it's sad, you get shot anywhere. It's so it's freaking crazy. But yeah, being in Japan was one of the safest place, and you could get the best part for me is I could get drunk and I could still walk home, and it's awesome. It's awesome. So yeah, Michael and Richard, I want to go back to Japan with you guys one day and just have a great time again.
We're working
Uh,
on it.
yeah, I know. Let me see. Captain Blue says, I remember a project I was in for a museum where the characters didn't have voice lines until 2 days before public unveiling. Wow. And
Wow.
one animated scene glitch. I had one night to fix it, or my lead said he would have my ass. It's not your fault, man. Holy
Harsh.
cow. Jeez,
Yeah.
man. I don't know why he kept want. I don't know why he wanted it, but I intended to keep it. A very tired Blue Blue attended the opening. Yeah, good job, man. Yeah, working under pressure like that, especially working under, you know, those kind of, you know, lead supervisors, you know, that's not great. But hey, you did it, so good job, man. Really proud of you, dude. Uh, Richard says, "Nice work, Boo Boo. Those last nights somehow take on its shiny memory." Yep, exactly. I feel you, Chris. Being aboard in the general feels a special luster to it. Yeah, so, like coming back to America, it was like a reverse culture shock a little bit. Cause
Totally.
I just did not,
I couldn't handle it.
I couldn't handle it. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. Captain Blue says, "Thank you. I can tell you, I'm still comfortably in chair still to this day." Nice. Richard says, "I believe it's living outside of one's native culture. You escape the pervasive expectation and unspoken pressures of daily life." That's true. Michael and I have
Yep.
discussed it quite a bit. Yeah. Invigorating indeed. Yep, yep, yep. So yeah, that's all to say. If you guys get a chance to travel, work outside the states, you know, visit other countries, please do. Go travel, go visit other cultures. That way you'll broaden your horizon, broaden your vision, broaden your, you know, comfort zone, and just meet new people and make yourself better. Again, that little story of the frog in the well. You know, you don't want to live in the same city forever and ever. You want to explore and meet new people and just diversify and, you know, learn from other people, and then so you're not always kind of compartmentalized in your way of thinking, and you know, be open and explore. Yeah. What do you think, Michael?
No, yeah, I completely agree. And you know, that applies to everybody in every country, not just people living in the United States. I think that it especially applies to people in the United States because
True.
Americans tend to be very like ethnocentric and very narrow-minded about, you know, America and
Yeah.
only understanding the world from the perspective of America. It takes getting outside of your culture, especially one that is as strongly, you know, narrowly focused as America,
Yeah.
to be able to see the world from a different perspective. But it, you know, the same thing is true for people in different countries. Like, you know, me, you, and Richard are Americans who go to Japan and go, "Wow, this is an amazing way of running a society. This is really cool. I'm
Yeah.
thriving here." But that at the same time, I met plenty of folks in Japan, plenty of Japanese, who are the opposite, who are like, Japan is just, I can't take it. It's too claustrophobic. I've been to America. Oh my God, I love it. You guys have all
Mm.
this freedom. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
man, that just fits me so much better. Um, and, you know, the more different places and cultures you can get to, the better, because you can get a completely different perspective. Like,
Yeah.
I've been to India, and man, that's completely different than either of those two places, either Japan or the United States, and gives you a whole new perspective on your own reality. Because, you know, India is nowhere near as wealthy a nation as Japan or the
Mm.
United States.
Mm.
So it gives a lot more weight to the sort of simple things like, I mean, just not being in a country that is so overpopulated and where there are like a lot of people struggling to, make ends meet.
Right.
So yeah, that's all really important, and it's amazing for us living in the 21st century because for the vast majority of human history, I believe I may get the stats off here, but roughly it's like for the vast majority of human history, people never left the like 8 mile radius around where they were born.
Right.
Um, it wasn't possible. Like traveling far was really expensive and it was difficult. And now we live in an age where even people of relatively modest means can travel to other cities and
Right.
go and do and see stuff. So um, the more that you can do that, the more I'd recommend it. And that's coming from somebody who does not have wanderlust. I was never the kind of person who was like, "Oh yeah, I want to travel the world and go and have all these adventures. It's going to be amazing." I was always the person who was like, "I'm just going to stay home and play video games and watch Netflix."
Yeah.
Um, and the theme park industry kind of like pulled me out to go do these other things, and I realized then the value that because you hear plenty of other people who have traveled who then tell other people you need to travel like it'll change your life. It really will. I didn't really get it until I did it, like, and was kind of like, forced into it in a way, not really forced, but like, uh, I didn't go out of my way to become one of those people who traveled to get their life changed, but it changed me in profound ways. And so, yeah, I can't recommend it enough. Getting out of your own culture, getting into a different place. When in Rome, do as the Romans.
Hmm. Hmm.
You will learn so much, and it really humbles you too. Because when you're in a place and you don't speak the language and you need help,
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah.
realize like, man, it creates this whole. It forces you to create this whole other like social development growth pathway where you're like, now I need to learn how to be friendly and charming and get these people who can help me to help me, and I need to be nice to them because if they don't translate for me, then I can't open, yeah, I can't get electricity for my apartment, that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
Oh,
And
sorry,
communicate.
sorry, Michael. What
Yep.
Zen? How you doing, man? Thank you so much
Ooh,
for the raid
cool.
for the party of four. Really appreciate it.
Welcome, Raiders.
Hey, hello, hello. We're actually just wrapping up right now. We're just talking about our experiences in Japan. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. What Zen Hikirito wait, hold on. Those people are they're bots. They're
Bots.
bots. Oh no, the bots are here. Yeah, I know. We've been getting bots. How about you? How was your stream, Zen? Hope you had a wonderful stream, dude. Did you stream many games? Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, thank you. But Michael, if you want to become famous, buy viewers, followers, and primes on viewers. Shop, and I
Oh
don't know what else to say.
man,
Wow, that is
I
so
can't
cool.
wait to be famous.
Yeah. Anyways, hold on. Let me see. And we'll be wrapping up soon. But Captain Blue says I would feel the same living in the U.S. The country is as large as a continent and have almost every biome. That's very true. Yep. There must be an adventure there for a European. Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. Um, Richard says agree, Blue Blue. A dangerous adventure in some areas. Yeah, that's true. But lots to see. We live for wandering across Europe and Asia. And Blue Blue says, when I find a job again, I would like to travel somewhere. Travel is indeed a privilege that broadens your mind. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I support you traveling. I support everyone traveling. Grass is greener type of deal. Yeah, yeah. I remember a lot of people, like one of my cousins coming from my second cousin. Um, I don't know what you call my mom's cousin. Anyways, one of my relatives came here from Taiwan, and she's like, "Oh my God, Chris, everything here is so much bigger. Like the roads are bigger, the food is so much bigger. All your the food is a
Oh
lot
my God,
cheaper.
yeah.
Like you go to Costco for like $1, you could buy like 10 bananas. I could relate to that because when I was in Japan, one banana was like $1. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. The people are Richard says the people are bigger too. That's pretty funny. That is very, very true. That is very true. And what Zen says, my stream was pretty short, but I was playing Marathon. Oh, what game
Oh,
is
the
Marathon?
Bungie game? The Bungie
Oh,
Marathon?
is what is that?
So the guys who made Halo
Ah,
are Bungie, and
ah,
before they made Halo, they made a game called Marathon,
oh,
um,
nice.
which was yeah one of their like big tickets to success. And Marathon was kind of like a spiritual ancestor to Halo. A lot of the ideas that were kind of born there
Oh,
evolved into, Halo.
got it, got it.
Wow, cool, nice man.
Nice. And Zen, I know you are here, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you a drink before you leave. Hurry up and drink that. Oh, no, 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 no.
You gotta
All right.
chug it.
You gotta chug it now, because we're gonna sign off soon. And thank you again so much, you guys. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Zen. Thank you, Blue Blue. Who else? Who else? Who else? Michael, am I missing
Oh,
anyone else?
confetti. Confetti was here too.
Confetti Yeti, yes, Confetti Yeti. King Cast, thank you guys so much here for being here tonight and just joining our journey and just being with us. And we will be back on Sunday, and I have lots to show you guys. I definitely want to show it to Michael first before I show it to you guys. Michael gets a sneak peek. But yes, hopefully you guys have a great rest of the week and stay safe, stay healthy. Gentleman Heavy, please get better soon. Because yeah, you got sick and get yourself better. That's the most important thing. Your health is very, 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 very important. All right, take care and hope you guys do really, really well. And please stay, and we will raid someone very, very soon. All right, bye guys.
Yeah.
And tonight we shall raid Herb Master. I am so hungry, Michael. I can't wait to eat.
Well, after we raid, we can take a break. And you can eat, and then we can do our post
Okay. All right.
post show thing.
Sounds good.
Bye, everybody. It's great
Bye.
having you.
And hold on. Raid in 3, 2, 1. Raid now. We have raided.
Nice. Cool.